Hey there, y'all. War, also known as We Are Resolute, released their fourth and latest album, this one here, Full Armor, not too long ago. And so we're going to take a look at the CD, the music, the message, the talent behind this album, and also talk about why it's my album of the week. It's all coming right up. Stay where you are. Hey there, y'all. Welcome back to another Tim Talks Christian Rock. Tim Listo here. Hope you're doing awesome today, and may God bless your day going forward from here. Thanks so much for joining me here for this video today. Glad you chose to make this one a part of your day. It is time for the next album of the week, album review. This week, it's this album here, Full Armor by War, also known as We Are Resolute, which, as the title suggests, is all about the theme of spiritual warfare, about putting on the full armor of God to help us combat those spiritual forces of darkness that we face day to day, right? And call on God to help us persevere through those daily battles. Almost every song on this album is centered around that theme or some variation of it, some more strongly than others, some more directly than others, of course, but that is the overarching theme of the album. Musically, this is a pretty heavy album, really. For the most part, it has got a, I would say, kind of a darker, heavier, even kind of moodier sound and vibe to it as a whole. However, there are some lighter, more acoustic-sounding tracks that do allow the listener some time to breathe and reflect a little bit more, too. But just as an overall statement, this isn't an assessment of, each track, but as a whole, I think the album is at its strongest when it really is leaning into that spiritual warfare theme the most, and musically when it's at its heaviest. Again, that's not to detract from the more acoustic sounding songs at all, because there's some good ones on here. But as a whole, I think it's strongest when it's heavy and when that spiritual warfare theme is just directly referenced. So anyway, there's that. We'll talk more about highlights from track by track in just a bit. But if you've not heard of We Are Resolute, who's in the band? Well, Brian Carmen plays lead on guitars and John Makma on drums and guitars as well for this album. Check out my recent interview with these guys here on the channel. I'll put a link in the description. We talk about a lot of great stuff, including all their past albums, their music and instrument preferences. We talk about this latest album. Lots of great stuff. If you're unfamiliar with the band, it's a great place to start. Bride's Dale Thompson is part of this project as well, too. He provides vocals on a total of 7 of the 11 tracks on this album. Technically, there's 12. We'll talk more about that later, too. But let's start out with a look at the physical CD edition of this album. We'll look at that. Then we'll take a look at the some of the talent involved on this album, then do a track by track, then end up with my overview review at the end. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, this album has a physical CD release via Roxx Records, which is this great company right here. I'll put a link in the description as to where you can order that CD copy, but let's talk about that. I'm not sure if it's available digitally yet. If it is, I'll put that in the description down below too. I think right now it's still only available as a physical CD, which is very cool though. So we have the CD, which, by the way, as of the date of this video, the recording of this video here, it's still available on sale through Roxx Records for $12.99. I mean, that's just a steal of a deal. That's a great price. If you're on the fence on this about this album at all, pick it up. $12.99. That's just a steal of a deal. Great price. There's only 300 copies of this CD in this first pressing, so I'd highly encourage you to pick it up while you can. It includes a 12-page booklet, which I have right here. We'll take a look at this here shortly. But first, I do want to focus on this cover art, this amazingly great cover art by Rafael Tavares Grip. Really, really cool stuff that just evokes that kind of moodiness I spoke about musically here. You know, you've got this great knight in armor with the sword stuck in the ground, his shield there with the war logo on it. There's the war logo, of course, up top there. You've got this light shining down from the heavens. He's surrounded by the darkness of the battlefield. It's just a really moody, evocative image that conveys both strength and also, you know, the moodiness and darkness that of the battlefield surrounding him. So very, very cool front cover album. There's also this image on the back, which includes more of the battlefield. You've got the castle up here in the corner, the sword, and again, more of the darkness here surrounding it all, but the light from heaven shining down as well, too. Just great cover art. I still hope to get Raphael on the show at some point and talk with him, interview him briefly about some of the artwork that he does, because he's done some great stuff. All this imagery, including the CD, which I'll show you in a minute, is based upon, you know, sketch designs by Brian Carmen himself, but then, you know, Raphael just took those foundational ideas and just kind of ran with them. Raphael's done a lot of great album art lately, including Bride's recent double album, Vipers and Shadows, as well as their 2020 album release, too. Here is Your God. So he's done a lot of great stuff. Here's the CD itself in a nice jewel case. It's front cover art again. See, it's from Roxx Records. Here's the back as well. It's very nice. Open it up. There's the inside. There's the CD, which we'll take a closer look at here. CD disc art itself, which again, if you go to my interview with Brian and John, Brian talks about and shows actually the sketch that he did of the design for the CD and the cover art and everything. And then you can see how Raphael developed it from there. So very cool stuff. The war logo in the tray. And then back to the booklet again. We'll do a quick flip through this here. The band members and credits there. Full lyrics throughout, as well as a nice little photo montage in the center, which is really quite cool. Lots of photos from recording of the album and just a few other kind of a sundry things, which is really nice. A lot of Brian and John in there. You got one of Dale here too. And then a couple with Brian Dale Rainsberger too, who we'll talk about later as well. So a nice little montage or layout of photos there. And then of course the rest is just more of the lyrics here, and then the BAP album cover art as well. All right, so let's talk about the people, some of the great talents involved in this album, because there are a lot, actually. Of course, the key players I've mentioned already, the men who are war, and that is Brian Carmen and John Mockma, of course. We'll get into talking more about their talents as we go through the track by track. Of course, Dale Thompson needs no introduction from Bride. He's just great on this album as well, too. But let's talk about some of the other people and talents involved here, because, again, there's just a lot in this album. First of all, on bass, we have Tracy Ferry. What a great talent. Tracy, of course, is formerly of Stryper. He played on the Reborn and Murder by Pride albums. Great stuff. He also played with Boston, provided bass and backup vocals on a couple of White Cross albums, too. I think Unveiled and Equilibrium, if I remember correctly. His bass playing complements the nice, heavy sound we get on this album. Great to have him involved with this project. We also have Brian Rainsberger, who offers his vocal talents on track number 9, Anyone. We'll talk more about him when we get to that track, but his vocals provide a nice contrast to both Dale's and Brian Carmen's vocals on the rest of the album, too. So really, you get 3 vocalists on this album. Is that too many? I don't think so. Dale's vocals continue to provide really the core foundation for War here on this album, while Brian Carmen is experimenting more with stepping into more vocal work on select songs as the band progresses through their album. So I suspect we'll see and hear more of that in the future War albums too, I think. And then, Brian Rainsberger is a nice guest vocalist for this single track and is really perfect for the sound and style of that track. So it balances out the three vocalists nicely. Each vocal style is married pretty nicely to, the song, the style of the song they're attached to. So I think that works out really well. I need to also mention the contribution of Humble Heart Audio's sound engineer, Garrett Thomas, who mixed and mastered this latest War album. His post-production work lends itself to the unique sound of this album as well, too. So Garrett also worked on Transcendent's debut album, Awaken, from 2024. Keep it rolling, Garrett. Sounds good. Last but not least, I've got to give a shout out to John De Laurentiis from Follow the Light Music Reviews here on YouTube for his work as copy editor for this album. Always a top-notch job, John. Nothing gets by you. Thanks for your work on this album for sure. Scott Waters also does layout for this release. If I left someone out, I'll apologize now. I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comments down below. Keep me in check, y'all. All right, so let's get going on our track by track here. Track number 1 on this great album is Thunder of God, which opens this album on a very strong start. Right off, you can tell this is going to be a heavy-sounding guitar and drum-driven album. Naturally, because that plays to the strengths of Brian and John, what they play, guitar and drums, right? So this isn't really a wall of sound type of album. I wouldn't describe it that way. But there's a definite heavy, deep sound that permeates many tracks here. And this is a prime example of it. Thunder of God is one of my favorite tracks off the album. It's kind of quintessential War. To me, it's what they sound like and sound best at doing. Some of the lyrics here are really good, too. Let me pull the booklet out here quick. I really like just the opening verse here right away. The law is the hammer of death, and it's the thunder of God. Right away, it describes what that title is about. The hand of God's wrath is revealed, brings down the heart of the proud. And there's a lot about pride, or there's some elements talking about pride, as part of what we're battling in these in our spiritual warfare. Dale's vocals here are just phenomenal. I mean, again, this is this great marriage of the sound that Brian and John bring to the table, and Dale providing just these really great rock-sounding vocals. It's a great, great combo. Something about that just mixes extremely well, and I love it. So, great opening track, great start to the album. Track 2 is Living the Life. Dale's back here on vocals again. This track, for some reason, reminds me a little bit of Res Band. Do you hear it in the guitars a little bit? For some reason, it reminds me of Select Res Band, probably later Res Band, maybe Lament Air or something like that. I don't know, but I get a little bit of that vibe for some reason. Another great song Great second track to follow up the strong first track. And this song is another one where the first verse, and here's to Brian's strength in his lyrical writing. The first verses are really clear in kind of setting the tone for the song. Like right from the get-go, you know what he's talking about. And here the first verse is, when you think about tomorrow, don't forget yesterday. All the trials and temptations, they're building your today. Great line, just a clarity right from the front, right from the top of the song, what it's going to be about. And then it goes into, more depth from there. So rich lyrical content from Brian. You can tell. It's like, here's a guy that's lived some life already. He's able to convey that. And also, drawing from scriptural influences, is able to put that into his lyrical writing. Good stuff. All right, next up is track number 3, In Love With You. This is the first track on the album to feature Brian Carmen on vocals. And this is a really strong track, too. I love the sound of it. It starts out a little more acoustically. You hear some voices in the background. I think John and Brian kind of playing around or something like that. But you hear a little bit of that, and it's kind of got, a little bit of a more of a rural kind of vibe to it, but a heavy vibe to it. I don't want to say country vibe, but yeah, just a rural vibe, and then gets heavier as it goes along. But I love that little acoustic start to it. It's really cool. And then the vocals kick in. They're probably a little low in the mix for my tastes here, but it's a little hard to hear them at some point. But it's got a little bit more of a kind of rhythmic, kind of steady pace to it. And one of the lyrics here I love here so much is this line here. It says, just because you heard a lie doesn't make it true. I need to trust in him, meaning God, of course, in Jesus, in everything I do. Great, again, strong lyrical writing. So I love that. I love the guitar solo in here. There's just some great guitar work, and again, good work from John and Brian both. For a more mellower paced song, it's really good, and it really a good strong third track too. I like it. And this one's grown on me a little bit. First I thought maybe it was a little more plodding when I first heard it, but it's really, I keep coming back to it and wanting to listen to it again and again. So next up, track number 4 is the title track, Full Armor. This is probably my top favorite track on the entire album. It's hard sounding, but has a melodic hook featuring great guitar, heavy drums, and Dale's heavy rock sounding vocals. It is just a complete success on all fronts. This is quintessential war right here. Similar to Thunder of God, that first track, this is just a really good quintessential war track here. I love it, but this is probably my favorite one. Again, the opening verse just says so much. Battles raging, bullets flying all around, enemy advancing, taking strongholds down. But we're standing with our armor on, and the battle is already won. I just love that. Again, the first verses are just got such great clarity to them. You know where the song's headed right from the start. So again, another track of great spiritual warfare here, and a wonderful, wonderful, heavy-sounding song. Love it. All right, next up is probably my second favorite track on the album, Heaven Draws Near. And it wasn't when I first heard the album. This one, again, grew on me, but it grew on me pretty quickly. This has got Dale back on vocals again, and this has just got a nice driving kind of almost battle-sounding rhythm to it. It's just jig, 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 and I love it.
The ground is shaking. The world is falling apart. Friends, they betray you. Families leave you out. Storm clouds raging. Rain is coming down. The floodgates breaking.
it's just great. And then the heavy guitars in, percussion is there. Dale's vocals meet the style of this music just perfectly. It's just a really great, heavy sounding song again. And it's really an uplifting one, too. This is, again, one you can tell is written by somebody that's seen some life, but knows to look to God for strength. And so here again, prime example is the latter two verses here say, your burden is heavy, let him, God, take the load. Walking on the water, a reference, of course, to Christ walking on the water in the Bible, keeping your eyes on him. The next verse then is, the boat is rocking, water's coming in, feel like sinking, gotta trust in him. The chorus, which is great, when hell breaks loose, heaven draws near. When you're falling apart, he gives you strength. Heaven draws near, heaven draws near. Great track, love it. Second favorite one on the album. You Keep Me is up next. That's track number 6, which features Brian Carmen returning on vocals again. Opens with this great bass line, assumedly by Tracy Ferry. I love it. It's a great sound, great way to intro the song, too. Brian's vocals here, I think, are even stronger than the third track. I really like the brighter tone to them. Brian, you did great on these. I think they're a little more forward in the mix, which I think sounds better. And I just love the upbeat tone of this song. It's got a real catchy melody to it too, so it's really upbeat. You Keep Me, it's all about God keeping us embedded in truth, right? Keeping focused on the truth in life, which helps us get through the different battles of life too. So it's actually a short song, not a lengthy one lyrically, but just nice, upbeat, great tune. Really like this one a lot. Next up is track number 7, Mind Control. This is the album's instrumental. If you're familiar with War at all, you know that on every album they've had at least one instrumental. They're keeping with that tradition here. Here's the instrumental for this album, and it's a good one. It's a good one. There are some background vocal elements to it, again, provided by Brian Carmen on this track, but overall, largely, it's an instrumental. This is actually one of my favorite tracks on the album. I love it when War leans into these instrumental tracks, when they just kind of jam for a bit or just kind of, have a great, strong instrumental. It sounds good. And this is another strong point on the album. Love it. They probably should do an all-instrumental album at some point, but this is a good one. I love it. Battle Cry, track number 8, is up next, which features the return of Dale Thompson on vocals again. This one is another kind of quintessential War song, so it's very much like the songs Thunder of God, Full Armor, Heaven Draws Near, and now here Battle Cry. This just really, to me, those are the tracks that kind of define what War really sounds like. This is a heavier one, a little bit slower paced one, but a heavier one. Not as melodic as some of the other stronger War tracks. A little more deeper, heavier, just kind of grittier sounding. Again, with the title Battle Cry, you'd kind of expect that kind of sonic tone to it, and that's what it brings to it. But I do like this one a lot. Lyrics, again, are really good here. Here, one of the last verses here is, we shout from heaven above, our victory, it is sure. Satan's army will fall. We will win after all. So, again, good, strong, spiritual battle-themed lyrics that just are powerful and hit you when you're hearing the song. So, another good track. Track number 9 is Anyone, and this is a catchy, bright-sounding acoustic tune with guest vocalist Brian Rainsberger. Brian was formerly a vocalist for the SoCal Christian rock and metal band Nostalgia. He's currently a solo artist in Michigan. Great guy and man of God. Got to give a shout out to Brian. He sounds really good here. He lends a nice mid to higher range sound to this track, which I really like. I like the vocals a lot. They seem a tad bit distant in the mix, but at the same time, I like the more spacious sound that results with the acoustic being a little bit more up front. This tune just sticks in my head long after it's played. I like it. Brian Carmen is also on vocals here, and the two Brians have some nice harmonizing here. Really nice track. Dale Thompson is back on vocals for track 10, Broken Dreams. This is another one of the harder edged ones, a little slower paced, a little less melodic than some of the other tracks, but still a good, hard-edged, hard-rocking song. Heavy sounding again. I love that. This one's a lot about, of course, leaving some of the dreams that you had behind because they've been broken by different circumstances of life, right? We all end up with broken dreams. Not everything comes true for us. And one of the great lyrics here I love is the second verse, which says, picking up the broken pieces, salvaging what I can, new life I am seeking, gotta trust in Him, God alone. Good stuff. Again, just strong lyrics on this. Always seeking out God for our source of direction and everything. Brian's got great lyrical writing throughout this album. It's one of the strengths for sure of this album. So it's uplifting. You hear these lyrics and you feel uplifted. You feel you have a sense of direction, which has a very deep scriptural basis in it. Love that. Dale's vocals here are great as well. Love his sound with this song too, Broken Dreams. And that whole theme of that, tied with the spiritual warfare aspect, really work well with his vocal stylings here. Great stuff. The closing track, track 11, You Are My God. Again, Dale Thompson on the vocals in a strong way again. This is a little bit longer track in the sense there's a little more lyrical content to this one. So it's really good. This is much more of a praise and worship, really, song. It's hard. It's heavy. It's a little bit slower paced again, a little less melodic than some of the other tracks, but I like that kind of grittiness to it still. But it's also got some bright elements to it, too, that fits with the praise and worship angle of the lyrics. I love this lyric here. It says, if you're feeling sad, nowhere to turn, thinking about your life, how much it hurts, just remember, God is always there. He'll never leave you, never forsake you. Sent His Son to show He cares. Just clarity of direction on this. Very biblical and pointing the way to Christ. Great song to end the album on. I love it. Really good stuff. So it's a good track. Dale tends to sing a little bit more of a higher range for portions of this song. So it's a little bit higher end element that brings to this song, which differentiates it from some of the other tracks that he sings on this album in particular. So really nice track. Good closer to a really good album. All right, as a bonus, there's a hidden or extra track on this CD. It's not listed on the back. So if you don't want to know what it is, you can skip this part of the video. If you want to discover it on your own, feel free. But there is one right after track 11. Starts up pretty much right away. The bonus track is a rocked out version of Christmas tune, Deck the Halls. That's included here on this CD, which is kind of a nice little bonus to have. This was originally a song that was on one of these Christmas that Roxx Records compilation CDs that they do every Christmas. I have one here. This one's from 2022. This is, I think, Volume 1. But the We Are Resolute's Deck the Halls song actually comes from Volume 3 in this series. But they included it here on the Full Armor album. So it's a really nice little bonus in addition to have. It features Dale on vocals there as well too. All right, a few closing thoughts and we'll wrap this video up. We Are Resolute's fourth and latest album, Full Armor, is a good, solid album focused on spiritual warfare and putting on the full armor of God to face the daily struggles and challenges in our life. If you're familiar with War's previous 3 albums, you'll be right at home here with Full Armor, but you'll also find a big leap in quality songwriting, both lyrically and musically. War just keeps growing. They're getting better. They're getting stronger. they're just growing with each album, and you can see that progression. And this one, to me, is a big leap up from previous ones. This is a very hard-rocking album overall. I love Dale's vocals on here because they are distinctly Dale, but they also have a little different feel to them when delivered alongside Brian's guitars. You know, we're used to hearing Dale the most, of course, with his brother Troy Thompson's guitars with Bride. But, but Dale's also done vocals for a lot of different bands and alongside a lot of different guitarists over the years, too. But there's just something about this combo with Brian Carman, John Mockma, and Dale that's just got a nice, heavy rock sound to it, a little rawer sound to it, which I really like. I hope that, something that War will lean into more in future albums, too. Brian has grown incredibly strong in his songwriting and lyrics, I think. This is really more of a praise and worship album than you might first think. A hard rockin' one, but it really has a lot of that lyrically. And it balances some of the heavier tracks with those more power ballad and acoustic leaning tracks really well. But I just love the raw sound to this album. The nice thing about War is they've got their own sound, their own character. They're not overproduced. They've just got a good grit and special sound to them that's uniquely theirs. I like that. And it just makes for a great, great sounding album. So, again, if you're on the fence on this album, go pick this up at Roxx Records. The link is in the description. It's $12.99 right now. Great time to pick it up. Great album. If this is your first exposure to War, you won't be disappointed. All right, y'all, that's all I got for today. Go out and have a great rest of your day. Go out and listen to some great Christian music. Make it some War. We Are Resolute's Full Armor. You'll be glad you did. That's all I got for today, y'all. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. God bless. See you next time.